See, it claims I'm alive. Never know, I might be dead. No, not quite yet. Still quite alive, still kicking, still breathing, still causing trouble. For some, by being honest. Honesty seems to be a virtue that pisses a lot of people off in today's society. Isn't that true? Yeah, I do believe that's true. But anyhow, I gave the name of this live stream, as you see. hmm Looks. Watching people's behaviors. Watching how messed up people really are. Understanding how people are focused in on things that are actually destroying their own lives. And they don't even know they are. I can understand that looks can play a good part and that there needs to be a little bit of looks there for somebody for sexual attractions. Okay, but that's just what it is, sexual attractions. Only. It's a sex thing, okay? And unfortunately, sex has replaced love. It sure has. Nobody, pretty much almost nobody in today's society even knows what love is. Matter of fact, they think love is sex. Or they think love don't exist. That's because the foundation of creating a relationship has been completely destroyed through propaganda, through teaching people propaganda, through Darwin theory, Darwinism, or whatever you want to call it, stupid shit, and eugenics and natural selection. That's right, which is a eugenics program, which is about population reduction, which is about killing people off. But we won't even go into that. Okay, that's a pretty deep topic to go into. But what we will go into is the fact that looks. That's right. The one thing that holds people back. The one thing that doesn't discriminate. Okay. And unfortunately, when it comes to the female gender, they're more about looks than men are. Even though there's a whole shitload of men about looks too, believe me. It is not really a gender issue, it is both genders doing it. You know, that 1 to 5 seconds, you was rejected, and then they used the cop out to say, oh, well, they didn't have things in common, but they never gave you a chance to know you to know if you had anything in common because it was based on them looks. And then you look at people thinking, well, when she hits the wall and loses her looks, I got a news flash for all of you men making them statements. What about when you hit the wall? Oh, but you're going to say you don't. I don't know anybody that don't hit the wall because you're going by something, you're going by a cover. And when you go by a cover, and that's what you put everything into as a cover, you haven't looked on the inside. Okay, so if you haven't looked on the inside, you don't know the person. Basically what you see is people going by lust, going by lust. And they're doing that with the sex dolls as well. They're going by lust. And so really what you do is you set yourself up for failure. That's the reason I wanted to talk about this. Because that's what you do. I know there's people that don't think they're setting themselves up for failure because they don't see it that way. But in reality, they are setting themselves up for failure because you cannot go by lust and expect to have any kind of thing that's successful in a relationship. Because if you're going to go by lust, as soon as she puts on a little weight after you got her pregnant and she has trouble getting it back off, which happens to many, many, many women, she was thin until she got pregnant. For some females, she managed to get the weight off, thin again, had another baby, and was thin again. But for the majority of females, once they've had a couple kids, the weight sticks. And then it's hard for them to lose that weight. Harder than it is for them to get PG, that's for sure. But we're going by looks, right? And so that's a weapon to be used against her as a human being. Oh, for men, we're going by looks, isn't we not? Yes. Hell, he's too short. Hell, he's not built enough. Oh, his chin line is this. How is that as that? And you pick out all these faults in somebody's looks that they had no say so on. And then you expect them to change that, huh? And it's not a gender issue. It's both ways. It's straight across the board. Women are going by looks, men go by looks. But men go less by looks than what women do. Or you're going by materialistic stuff. How successful are you? Are you white collar or blue collar? Okay, there you go. That's right. Are you famous? You're a gold digger, right? So, and that's mostly women, isn't it? You go by phony image. Who has more friends? Who's more popular? You go by everything that guarantees your relationship to fail. So you set yourself up for failure, then you whine and cry about the failure. But you set yourself for failure to begin with, thanks to social engineering, thanks to the modeling industry, the fashion industry, the pornography industry, and what's being fed to you by your school system, by your television set. That's right, by your books and magazines. What's being shoved in your face, what's being fed to you, is the things that we choose to go by. Then you'll argue that to a point of no return. Now, I know there's a lot of TFLers that don't necessarily use the looks, although they do to a percentage. And I got nothing wrong with against you wanting a little bit of attraction there. I got nothing against that. But if you put your focus on the attraction, then you're putting your focus on the lust. So even if you get yourself, and then of course I'm against our labeling system that we are all using on one another, making categories based on looks. So I suppose when you walked into the nursing home, they're all number ones, ain't they, or zeros? Because you got your categories, right? And them categories are also furtherly helping you destroy you. Because you'll say, well, I perceive myself to be a 5 or a 6. And I don't want to date anything that's less than a 5 or a 6 unless, I'll settle for a 4 maybe. Okay? Or are you going to be like a woman and you want to date up? Well, I was already picky. I'm a female. I got myself a Chad, that's right. And I've rated him to be a 9 or an 8, all right? But here comes another Chad that's more successful. Maybe he's a movie star. Maybe he's a Hulk Hogan. Maybe he's a Brad Pitt. You understand what I'm saying? Maybe he's a Shawn Michaels. And now you'll dump the guy you're with because you're upgrading, right? Really, what you're doing is everybody's setting themselves up for fire and they're dumping on one another and dumping on one another. Nobody wants to practice common sense and reality. Nobody wants to walk into the nursing home and realize one day that's them. They don't want to think about that because it's depressing to think about that. Meanwhile, we'll go ahead and dump on each other. We'll complain about our failures while we set ourselves up for failure from the very beginning because we did not know what we were doing. This is where I piss people off all the time when I say, you don't know what you're doing. In a reality, you don't know what you're doing. It's not to discriminate against anybody, but the facts are we put our focus on things that are actually destroying our chances of finding that person. Okay? And because we do that, we wind up in bad relationships. We wind up being used and dumped. And for you ladies, you might get pumped and dumped. That's right. We wind up treating each other like dirt because we don't know what we're doing, because we're going with the programming that we have been raised to. What our society has put in our face. Okay, so, how do you change this situation? Is probably the hardest thing to talk about. Because when in reality, to change it means people have to really back up and start thinking. I can understand their desire for sex, but I can also understand sex belonging at the last of the list, not at the top of the list. But in today's society, it's at the top of the list. Just like money, the tool, being successful. It's sad. It really is, because so you're successful with money, but not successful with a relationship. Why? Because you don't know what you're doing. Or because you're successful with money and she sees that and that's what she sees and that's what she wants. And she knows what to say because she's going to say everything you want to hear. And she's going to use the words, I love you, okay, to sucker you in so she can use you for your money. Now, if your money is gone, she's gone because she never loved you to begin with. You was an instrument of usury. That's all you was. You was being conned. You was being used. And as soon as they're through using you, they throw you away. It is what women do to men regularly, and it is what men also do to women. The only men that ain't doing that to women are the TFLers, are the incels. Because it's hard for them to do that to a woman when they can't even get a woman in their life because they're in that 85-15 rule or 90-10 rule. I don't think it's 80-20 anymore. I think it's 85 or 90. Yeah. Okay, and you fall into that category, you're going to be rejected, rejected, rejected. You're stereotyped out. You're pushed out of society, out of having a relationship, out of having life. And then when you look at how people behaviors, relationships ain't what they're cut out to be. Because somebody always wants to be somebody's boss. Somebody always wants to think they're above somebody else. Yeah. And so because of that mentality, it's within itself, you would destroy your relationship. Yes, I see you, Mr. Canada Man here. Oh, Toronto is with me again. Appreciate that. But yeah, that's the crux of the reason I gave it looks and dating. Because you even see this with these people pushing these damn sex bots. Oh, it'll never lose its looks. Okay? As if they're not going to lose their looks themselves, huh? Somehow you getting older and losing your looks doesn't focus in your head that even she gets old and loses her looks. She may keep her looks longer, but you're focusing in on differences in looks. And what you really do when it comes to all of the stuff I've just mentioned, what you're doing is you're setting yourself up for failure. And when you set yourself up for failure, you're going to fail. The relationship will not last. It will fall apart, either because you went by looks and set yourself up, or because you want to wear the pants in the house, or she wants to wear the pants in the house. In other words, you want to think that one or the other is the boss of the other. You don't know how to compromise. Well, yeah, that's because, see, the nice guy they want to think is dangerous to him because the nice guy would treat him as a human being and would respect them as a human being. They don't want that. You need to be a simp. At one time, you used to need to be a bad boy. That's right. Because then they had their challenge to try to change you. And of course, when you paid attention to the bad boy era, where was the breakups? They were right there. What was that relationship filled full of? Drama. Now we have women going after the simp, the vagina, the person who wishes they were a man, that'll never qualify to be a man. Because a man isn't based on what's between your legs. That's not the classification of a man. A real man stands up for himself. A real man's not going to abuse the woman, but he's also not going to take abuse. See, there is no such thing as telling somebody I wear the pants in my house. I don't care what gender says it, because that gender is clearly in the wrong. Because that gender believes they're above the other person and they have the right to tell the other person what they can think, what they can feel, what they can do. Then you couldn't figure out why that relationship didn't work out, huh? And for these women who want to say that's the nice guy and dump all over him, I don't feel sorry for them. You're right. They rejected you in 1 to 5 seconds. And they chose somebody that was the perfect simp over in today's times. That was that perfect slave that wouldn't stand up for themselves. But don't worry, as soon as another perfect slave comes along that has more money, she'll throw you away too. That ain't going to change, because it's like we're upgrading, huh? We have that mentality that another human being, it's just like, one thing that we have gotten down pat, and I hate to say this, but it's so true. We all got this down pat, right? How to create our very own killer. How to create the situation that's going to get you put in prison. Yep. How to create the situation that led you into the courtroom and got you raped because you're a man. We all got the skills down perfect. How to destroy one another. And that's exactly what we see going on in our world. We destroy one another through our ignorance. And it's sad because it shouldn't be happening. Wouldn't happen if people would back up and really start thinking. If they would use what's in their head and think, they would understand. It's just like the woman in the friend zone. She's friend zoned you. She's friend zoned you. So now you'll never be nothing more than just that. That's because that woman's just as mentally screwed up as the men are. She don't know what she's doing. She hasn't the first clue to what she's doing. And you go say, well, yeah, she does. No, she doesn't. She's never had the first clue to what she's doing when she's friend zoning you. Because it is the friendship that creates the relationship to begin with. When you use the foundation of a successful relationship as a weapon, a tool for denial, you literally destroy the foundation to a successful relationship. Yeah, love after lockup. That's the Bad Boys series. They're still going to push that because the Bad Boys was around for a long time. It's not that the Bad Boys are completely gone. It's just we're sort of in a new era where there's more and more women looking for the simp now and not the bad boy. You still have a percentage of women chasing the bad boy. I don't expect that's going to totally go away. Okay, but even the simp is not a real man. They're so desperate to have a female in their life that they have forfeited being a man. No lie. They're so scared of being alone again because the woman been given all the say so, all the choice, that they're going to bend over and do whatever she says. Sort of like the honey-do list. That's right. That's right. Do what honey tells you. You ever hear them say, do as your wife says or else? Do you think that even in political positions, when you had, George Bush in office, Ronald Reagan in office, and they were the puppet of the United States, they're the puppet. Who do you suppose was running that puppet? The female, the wife, the first lady. And if he didn't do what she wanted, he was going to have hell to pay. So he did what she wanted. That's really what that comes down to. And this is what we see in society. You don't find too many men that'll stand up to the woman they're with. And the men that do stand up to the woman they're with, sometimes are the exact opposite of the woman. They're just as bad as the woman. They think they are the god of the family, that they're the one in charge. They wear the pants. And they tell her what to think and what not to think and how to feel and what to do. What color to, excuse my language, shit today and how high. See, it's not a one-sided thing. I've witnessed this with my own eyes in my life. It's never been a one-sided thing. You have women doing this to the men and you have men doing this to the women, and both parties are wrong. Doesn't matter what your gender is. This is why relationships fail to begin with. It's from not knowing what you're doing. And TFLers in today's society, when I look at behaviors, they're actually quite lucky. And God, I hate to say you're lucky because I know the stress that you're going through being rejected. Believe me, I've been there. I know how it hurts. I know how it can tear you up on the inside. I know how it feels to be pushed out. But the only reason I'm saying you're actually quite lucky is because once you're with a woman who treats you lower than dirt day in and day out and does nothing but make drama with you around the clock over the littlest things that you never even thought could ever be drama, then you get another wake-up call. What am I doing here? Man, I was happier when I was alone. Yeah. And then you get people like Dave, who has managed, he's been TFL his whole life. He's Mr. Hoka's age, just like Mr. Hoka, who's managed to be able to put up money and, well, he said a successful life because he didn't have her there spending his money. So there was some perks to being alone, but it's not right. A person shouldn't be forced to be alone because their society is so twisted and so evil, and then they deny it when they do it to you. It's off the charts, the behavior of people. Nobody wants to own up to their freaking wrong behavior, but everybody wants to do it. Nobody wants done onto them what they're willing to do onto somebody else. They will come up here and make drama with you. They will call you names. They will start shit with you. They'll bully you. They'll put you down. They'll do all this wrong stuff to another person. And then the first time any of the things they're doing to somebody else is repaid onto them, oh, they're furious. They're angry. They're so mad they want to go to blows. That's right. They are so pissed that they literally want to go to blows over you doing unto them what they done unto you first, because they can't handle what they dish. That's what that comes down to. See, they've got this God complex that thinks it's okay for me to do it to you, but don't you do it to me. They're not willing to back up and use their head. Or their ego is so inflated that at all costs I'm going to protect my ego. Even if it means being a hypocrite and a complete liar. Oh, yeah, I understand what you're saying. Every conversation, it has to be, yep. And unfortunately, that becomes from our social engineering. That is just further proof they don't know what they're doing. You know, these women are looking for people that don't even exist on the face of this earth. You know, that's really what they're doing. They're looking for a fantasy that's in their head that's not a reality. And now they're mad and they're upset because they can't find their fantasy that is not a reality. Well, of course they can't, because that's what it is a fantasy. But it's no different than men. Let's look at the reality. You got these fraudulent MGTOWers, which are probably TFLers, denying the fact they're TFL. They want you to believe that they can get any woman they want anytime, which is a load of BS. But you're not supposed to know it's a load of BS because they're supposed to be smarter than you and you're supposed to believe in whatever lie they lie. And then they get mad at you when you don't believe their lie. Oh, well, get over it. If you quit lying, But you got these fraudulent MGTOWers that are TFLers that they're right there pushing that sex bot. They want that sex bot. And then they give all the good perks of the sex bot. They had a lot of valuable points they made about the sex bot. But the one I think that catches my attention the most is how they have said, and she'll never hit the wall. She'll always be beautiful. Because all of your attention is focused on the looks. It's like when you focus on the differences in genders. It's the same thing. It's self-destruction. You are setting yourself up for failure. And you will fail regardless of what relationship you could ever get off the ground. That relationship is doomed for failure, will not make it. You will be the next statistic in divorce court. Okay? And if you don't get married, don't worry, you still won't be together. Because you're not going to make it. It's not possible to make it. Why do you think the bad boys go from girl to girl to girl? And the girl goes from bad boy to bad boy to bad boy? Because they can't get along. That's right. Because it's about changing somebody into your want. It's about molding them and shaping them, yes, and making them into your want. So you're trying to create that perfect slave again, huh? You can't figure out why it don't work out, huh? Really? What is so hard to figure out about that? Oh, that's right, because you're going with what society has fed you. And because society has fed you this, and you believe in it, you keep setting yourself up for failure over and over and over and over. And the only people that ain't setting themselves up for failure over and over and over are the guys that are pushed out. And believe me, the TFLers and incels, the only difference between the incel and the TFLer is the majority of TFLers only want to meet one person, one woman, that would take the time to become their friend, their best friend, and then more. That they could have as their mate, that they could grow old and die with. And incels are only worried about putting their penis in a hole. Yep, that's the only difference. The majority of incels are only worried about putting their penis in a hole. And if you got an incel that says, no, I'm not, I want a meaningful relationship, then you're not an incel. You're a TFLer. And you're going to say, no, they're one and the same. No, they're not one and the same, and they never have been one and the same. Well, when I come up with TFL, I read the definition of involuntary celibacy, which is incels. And when I read the definition of involuntary celibacy, which is incel, that was not a TFLer. That was a person who's chasing putting their dick in a hole. Because it was all centered around lack of getting sex. Lack of getting sex. TFLers don't have to worry about a lack of not getting sex. They can't even get a companionship or friendship with a woman. Because in 1 to 5 seconds, they're already rejected. Then you get some idiots to come up and say, that's the woman you chase. Yeah, if you want to go to jail for harassment, you chase it. Then they'll sit there and say, well, that ain't happening, when it happens every day, all the time. Because they turn their head and look the other way. They didn't want to let you know them or the results. They just wanted to give you their cop-out explanation. That how the woman who rejected you is just playing hard to get. When the majority of the time, no, she's not playing hard to get. She already knows she wants nothing to do with you. And if you pursue her, you're going to wind up in the back of a cop car. You're going to wind up with a bunch of other bad boys that are also trying to put their penis in her hole, teaming up on you to beat the crap out of you because she said so, because they'll think that's going to give some brownie points for their dick to go in the hole. That is the results of doing that very thing, chasing after the woman who rejected you. In most all cases, this is what our society has come down to. So now you literally have millions and millions of men around the world who literally will be born and die alone. Will never be able to have the chance. And if they do get the chance, maybe they'll get the chance after the woman's already had her kids and raised her kids. And that's only if you're lucky. And at that point, why would you even want to give that woman the time of day? You should give her back exactly what she gave you. Let her die alone and miserable. But you know what? She won't die alone and miserable unless she's successful enough to have actually destroyed her own family. Then her children won't be there for her neither. Yes, you're correct. TFL has caused you problems, mental health problems, and health problems and all. You know, I said it years ago when I created TFL that TFL, this is what TFL does to you. It eats you up from the inside out. It'll completely destroy you. Everywhere you go, you're going to see a woman and a man together. You can't get away from it. You turn on your TV, there's a man and woman together. You go to the grocery store, there's a man and a woman together with their kids. You go to the mall, there's men and women together. You go to the park, there's children playing and mommy's sitting over there, daddy's sitting over there. You're not getting away from it. So everywhere you go, it's put in your face over and over and over again. You do everything you're told to do by society. You even paid money to a fraudulent pickup artist to learn how to talk to another human being. That's right, another human being. In doing so, you found yourself right back where you're at before you paid that money. It is literally destroying you from the inside out, which brings on depression, mental health issues from depression, and brings on other health issues from that depression as well. Then you're going to go freaking run to a doctor who's going to give you drugs from Big Pharma, who's going to help to add to them health problems with the drugs that they're going to give you. Oh, sure, at first it made you feel better for a while. And then pretty soon you had to take more of that same drug. to make you feel better again. And then it works for a while, and then you got to take some more of it until they've already got you to the limit they can't give you anymore. So then they have to switch you to something else. And meanwhile, them drugs are messing up the organs in your bodies. That's right. So you're doomed to be sick. You're doomed to fail. Sad. It really is. It's pathetically sad. This is the reason I would tell TFL or go ahead and go MGTOW. Take women off your mind completely. Stop looking for a woman in your life. By doing so, focus on your own life, focus on whatever hobbies you can come up with. If you're going to a job, go to your job and work, come home and create a hobby or an activity or something to take it off your mind. Ignore everybody around you except for maybe your immediate friend, which is another guy, and live your life and forget about women. And I know that's not easy to do, but let me tell you what that's going to do for you. It's going to remove that chip of stress off your shoulders from not having a woman in your life, which in return will help your health, including your mental health. But I did not say it's easy to do, by no means. I would start with turning off your TV because you don't need to turn on your TV and still see it. If you're a TFLer, if you're an incel, why do you want to turn on your TV so that it can be rubbed in your face? It's sort of like when in doubt when he came into Steve Hogan's live stream and wanted to talk about how much he was getting laid when he knew there was 50 or 60 people there that was TFLers and incels. It's like taking that salt and rubbing it right into the open wound. And that's what your TV set will do for you. It'll rub salt right in your open wound. You have to get stronger from the inside out, the same as you was destroyed from the inside out. And that's going to take work on your own behalf. It's not fair. It's not right. You should never be in a situation you are. But remember, you didn't create it. You did not ask to be put in the situation you are. That's why it's called true forced loneliness, because you were forced. Because you cannot force somebody to be with you. Okay, simple as that. You cannot force somebody to take the time to get to know you, to want to love you. None of these things can be forced on anybody. But you can be forced to be alone if you want your opposite gender and you're looking for a mate and you're continuously rejected. Falling for the pickup artist industry is a joke. The sad thing is they're exploiting a real issue that was created for selfish gain for themselves. And when you're desperate and you start paying money and buying pickup artist material, you've already fell down the rabbit hole because you're desperate. And they're using what you did not ask for to basically steal your money away from you, furtherly victimizing you and lying to you while they're at it. Sad. And I don't know what to tell you other than take your mind off your television set. Don't buy any pickup artist material whatsoever. Don't give them one red dime. Why let them furtherly victimize you? This is why the PUA community attacked me years ago when I come out with TFL. I was attacked pretty hard by the pickup artist industry. I sure was. I remember Tony. He was one of the people that had his own seminars going teaching PUA material and was charging money and making good money, scamming TFLers. And he feared what I did would take that money away from him. So he attacked me. Then one day he told me he was sending his class my way, and they were all going to be attacking me. And he did what he said. He lived up to his word. The problem was is he lost 3/4 of his class. No. It's not a call from you. I'm in a live stream. So, 3/4 of his class turned on him. They got watching my videos and realized what had happened. And they turned against him. They realized he was robbing them of their money. Steve's right about that. The only thing you need to know about the immigrants coming into America, they're not crossing the border to escape their country. They're being paid to cross that border. They're being encouraged and paid to do so. It's what old Georgie boy does best. It's what he's went all over the world and done and made lots of money from the elite at the top to do so. It's called destabilizing your society. It's what you do when you're getting ready to bring a nation down. And this is what Georgie boy George Soros specializes in. These migrants crossing that border, not trying to cross for better conditions. They're being paid money to cross that border, but you're not supposed to know that. And like the rest of us, we all want that tool, money. You offer somebody enough of that tool and they'll do it. I'm sure old Georgie boy spent a couple years setting this up and put on a lot of money. So these immigrants are making money and being bused to the border. And then they get off that bus and they cross that border. And they come into America with enough money to get them a place. And enough money to buy them some food. That's right. That's been given to them. And it will furtherly cause more TFL. You're correct. Steve is right about that. But they don't care about it causing more TFL. It's about destabilizing your society. Because it's not only going to cause more TFL, it's going to take more jobs away from the American people. It's going to cause more people to become homeless. That's right. It's going to destabilize the country. That's exactly what it's about. It has many effects on the country, not just TFL. Okay, it really does. The sad thing is they're being paid to cross that border. It's been deliberately engineered. It's not them trying to escape their own country. That's a crock of BS if anybody says it is. That's a complete lie if anybody says it is. That's the times we live in. We live in a society where we've allowed a handful of people to control us. And these people are psychopaths and criminals. They don't care about you. TFL was no accident. It was deliberately done. It was socially engineered. The results came out great. You got millions of men all over the world living it. They've broke up the family successfully. They've caused millions of men to be alone. They've over-sexualized society to help destroy the families and furtherly drive TFLers and incel people nuts, as these guys can't get any. Why do you think they're marketing a sex bot? Because like the pickup artist industry, they're going to use the sex bot to make more money off of the problem they created. This is why both genders need to really take their heads out of their, you know what, back up and practice critical thinking skills and start recognizing right from wrong and doing unto each other as you'd want done unto yourself. That's why that's so important. Because then you can see what was going on. And then when you see what's going on, then and only then, could you actually successfully make a change. And that's going to have to be on an individual basis. There's nothing easy about this entire situation at all. In some ways, we have ourselves to blame. Not one person, but all of us, because we sat back and allowed a group of people that were psychopaths to do this to us, and we just let it happen. It's like with the Constitution, if you look up all these cop videos on YouTube, these guys going around doing their First Amendment check, their constitutional check with the cops. And the cops are very uneducated, and they swore to uphold the Constitution that they don't uphold because they're order followers. That's right, and they're not going to uphold it because they're order followers. And they're not going to uphold it because they don't want to lose their job. Because that means losing the tool they need to live on. So they just follow their orders. Blindlessly and dumbly, they follow their orders. Of course, it's not straight across the board. You got a few good cops out there that recognize it, see it, and will follow the Constitution. But they have to keep themselves in check because they might be out their job. See how the tool controls us? The tool dictates our behavior. We don't care if we dip on somebody else as long as we're making more of the tool for doing so. Or we're not putting our slave labor at risk. See, so it is like that. And it's just like this migrant crisis crossing the border and this wall. It's all been engineered deliberately. These people crossing the border, as I told you, man, and I don't care what you think, they're not running from the country. They're not escaping to the great country of enslavement, America. Because the great country of America is not the land of the free. It's the land of the enslaved. You have more laws and rules in this country than you do any other on the face of this earth. You have more people locked up in this country than you do in any other country. So you're not running there. You know the reason they're running here is because they were paid to run here. To furtherly bring this country down, to destroy this country. And it will cause a rise in TFL in America. It will cause jobs to become harder to find. And these people will be willing to work for a lower wage, which will definitely mess up America even more. Every thought that it could have is going to be right in your face. And why people can't see it is beyond me. I guess maybe a lot of people just don't want to look. They don't want to acknowledge, or they're scared to acknowledge. But if you keep turning your back and looking the other way, you're going to pay for it with your lives. And I'm not trying to throw fear porn at nobody. History replays itself because of these very things. You have to be willing to put your life on the line, stand up and fight back. And you have to understand what's going on in order to understand who your real enemy is. See, in the manosphere, we attack each other. Your real enemies laughing their butts off because they got you fighting one another rather than fighting your actual enemy, which furthers their agenda. They love it. Okay, they absolutely love it. And the women are just as guilty. They're up there marrying these people, throwing away the guy they're with and marrying the state, marrying their government, all for selfish perks. Isn't that what PUA pickup artists done? Have you looked? Your newest guru that's a pickup artist is selling a book is a woman. And that just fires me up even more how a woman can think she's an expert on dating. The most she ever done was sit back and take her pick. I know millions and millions of 3-year-old children that can take their pick of their favorite toy or their favorite candy. She absolutely has no skills or talents. And there she is exploiting TFLers and incels, exploiting them lying in a book to make money off of what she's done to them. That's right, what she's done to them. Because it is the she's that are turning the guys down, not the he's. They're doing it based on the social engineering, but but still comes right down to what it is. It's the female doing the rejection in 1 to 5 seconds. It's the female that's being nasty, evil, and disgusting. And then covered up by the simps and the white knights. That you can't call her out for her wrongs. You can call men out all day long for their wrongs. Just don't call a woman out. Because if you call a woman out, by golly, you'll be a misogynist. You'll be a woman hater. You might run all the women off. These are all things that I've had said to me over and over and over again since I come online. That I might run all the women off. That I'm a woman hater. That I have mental issues. That TFL is dangerous to society. Yeah, these are all quotes I've heard over and 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 over again. Absolutely no truth to it whatsoever. It's all said, majority of the time, it's always said by a man. No lie. To another man. A simp, a vagina, a weakling, a pussy, a coward. That's right. Now I've just said what they really are. Because that's what they are. They're cowards. Yeah, this program is way too long and instructional and slow to be implemented by those who live less than the country as we do. Well, you know what? They've carried their program for lots and lots of years, and they have nothing but time. They've been very successful. We have broke up the family unit. We have divided the races. We have divided the genders. So yes, they have been very successful. They're lying to you right now and telling you that these migrants are crossing in to get away from the country when, oh, Georgie boy's behind that and they've been paid to come across that border. That's right. These people are psychopaths. This is what power and greed absolutely does. They have nothing but time. After all, they own the monetary system. They control and own your money. They'll never be short of money ever. And when they die, just the program goes on because they pass it down to their children. Their children are raised and brought up and taught and schooled, separate of all of us, so that they will take over the agenda. And that's exactly what goes on. To say they'll never implement it would be nuts. They've started and financed every damn war we've been in, both sides of it, and made gain doing so. The Great Depression, everybody was flat broke, people committed suicide, blah, 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 on it goes. Nope, they wasn't. They made more gain from it. They sure did. Now they owned more property, more buildings, more houses, and had more money than anybody else. They always make gain from it. To say they won't implement, they already have. Over and over again. You just didn't pay attention. That's all. You got to pay attention to what's really going on and realize that they've done this stuff for decades after decade after decade. This didn't come on overnight. TFL wasn't caused and created overnight. They spent a long time breaking down the genders, breaking down the families, and socially engineering our behaviors. Over sexualizing society, putting what your attractions are and giving you what you believe in, lying to you. It's really a great job they've done. It is social engineering, it is brainwashing of masses of numbers of people, and it has worked very successfully. So to say they won't implement is complete lunacy. They've been implemented under your nose the whole damn time. And if you can't see it, that's not my fault. That means you need to back up and open your eyes. And if you don't want to open your eyes or you want to just make up some cop out to get around it, then go ahead and be dumb. Because that's all you'd be, being dumb. We're in a world right now full of people that are dumbed down and stupid and not of their own fault. But because they're not being told the truth, because they're being told lies, and everything that's been put in their face is being lies, it's no lie. And they'll steer you down the rabbit hole like Alex Jones by telling you lots of truth mixed with lots of lies. And unfortunately, it's the lies being mixed with the truth that throws people completely off. You come out of your education system thinking you were educated when you wasn't. And you can only educate yourself through wanting to educate yourself and then by backing up and not believing what anybody tells you. You don't have to believe me. I'm not going to be offended by you not believing me unless you're not willing to go look. But if you're willing to go look, please don't believe me. Go look for yourself. And take your time looking and pay attention. If you do, you're going to come back and say, damn. And you're going to realize what I was saying. It's not an easy pill to swallow once you see it. I didn't have an easy time swallowing it when I woke up to this shit. But I did, and I kept going, and I kept looking for more and more and more. There's something that always stuck in my head that my dad told me when I was a kid. And that's that this world's a big school, and that's all it is. And that there will always be something new to learn, and you will never be able to learn everything in your entire life. And I always remembered that. And I wasn't awake to what was going on in society for a long time. A lot of years in my life, I lived TFL like these TFLers did. Didn't understand what was going on. And when it finally got to the crux of things and got to me, I started wanting to find out why, because I met so many other guys that were going through the same thing I was going through. I was meeting complete strangers and we were talking on a layover at an airport that their stories of their life was identical to mine, and we didn't even know each other. We came from different parts of the country. When that happened, that was like a big red flag to me, so I started looking. I wanted to find out why. And boy, did I get an eye-opener. I learned a lot more than I ever planned on learning. I didn't know I was going to be learning so much. But once I started seeing and learning, and I backed up and paid attention to what was going on around me in society and physically saw with my own eyes, it kept my curiosity going. So I kept looking and I kept looking and I kept looking. And I kept reading and I kept watching and I kept looking and I kept reading and I was watching documentaries and I was comparing it to society and I was looking and I was watching and I was paying attention. And the more that I did, the more aware I became. And that's what we all need to be doing. Because it's the only way you're ever going to see through the BS that's being done to us. And from the manosphere, you need to do this because if you can't do this in the manosphere, then you're going to keep attacking each other that's not the victim. We're all victims. And we're attacking each other instead of our real enemy. And the people at the top are loving it because you attack each other rather than your real enemy. And they love it, okay, because it's exactly what they want. So, and it's really hard, for my first years in doing TFL, I had a lot of people who was mad at me on my main channel, which ain't been up in a long time because YouTube took it down. Then they took down my next channel and my next, and here I am again. Okay, but anyhow, I had attacks from both sides. People were confused. They were, why are you doing political videos on a dating channel? You talk about TFL, you're talking about men and women and relationships and dating, but yet here you are with NWO and political videos on your channel. Why are you doing both on one channel? Because the social engineering is responsible for TFL. The social engineering is responsible for men going their own way. The social engineering is responsible for incel, responsible for the feminist movement, and the list goes on and on and on. And you have to understand that before you can understand where the problems are coming from. It is problem, reaction, solution. It is no lie. It is divide and conquer. It is no lie. It's not a conspiracy theorist or theory. It is exactly that. It's divide and conquer. And they've done a great job at it. I'm not going to, the powers to be at the top, you could call them whatever name you want. But these groups of people have done a very fantastic job at it. They've got a war going between the men and women. They got a war going between the blacks and whites. They got a war going between the Hispanic and the blacks and the whites. They got us all fighting one another. And even in the manosphere, people are living men going their own way or incel or TFL or love shot or whatever name you want to give it. You're all complaining about the same problems and you're attacking each other. And I'll guarantee you they love it when you attack each other. And then you got the misfits that are out here freaking doing what? You know what they're doing? They're exploiting the issue. They're making money on it. What do you think pickup artist industry did? They're making money off of the problem you're going through. And they give you phony solutions that don't work. They know it don't work because it's not the solution. The solution between the genders is to understand exactly what's happened to us all, men and women alike, and to understand why we act the way we act, why women are acting the way they're acting, and why we're acting the way we're acting. When you can understand why we're acting, men and women alike, then you can start looking for who done this to us. Then you'll discover your real enemy. And then you should be furious. You should be angry. You should be pissed off. You should want to join forces together and stand up and take these people out of position. That's exactly what needs to happen. But will it happen? I doubt it. Too many people like drama. Too many people don't have real care. If you got real care in your heart and you really care about what's going on in your world, you really care about your kids or your grandkids or anybody, this is the real starting to is having care. Because when you can care about right and wrong, and then you can back up and start examining your own behavior. You can recognize right from wrong, so you can take the bad behavior out of your life that you present, bettering yourself. And on an individual basis, if we all could do that, we would stop attacking one another. We would start treating each other the way we want to be treated ourselves. And then we could see through to the real crux of where this came from. And yes, you all have a right to be angry. You're damn right you do. But then instead of attacking each other out of our anger, we rise up and simply just stop obeying. Stop obeying. Take their power away from them by not listening. It's like your military. The military, well, we can't. They'll court martial us and we'll go to prison. They'll make an example out of us. But if 80% of your military put their guns down at one time and set up yours, they would have no military. They're not going to court martial their entire military pretty much. They'd have no military. And if the people on the streets would refuse to go down and send their children down there to go into the military, while this was going on, you'd shut them down. Now the criminals at the top have something to worry about. Why do you think they spent so many years dividing us? What do you think division was about? They created it in every form in all of our society. Destroying the families, destroying the genders, destroying the races, working on the work site. You're one-upping each other for freaking money for the tool. Oh yeah, the tool's been a great weapon. See, and this stuff just goes on and on and on. If we're ever going to correct anything, you got to really start backing up and understanding what's going on. And then if you can start understanding what's going on, you have a right to be angry. But stop attacking each other, because we are all victims by these same people at the top. We outnumber them big time. Why do you think they've been so hard at work dividing us all? So that we would never stand together. So that we would never rise up. Their biggest fear is the people seeing what's going on, standing up and rising up. That is their biggest fear. It's always been their biggest fear. That's why they spend so much time causing all the infighting they're causing. Amongst the races, amongst the genders, amongst everything. And money has been a great tool and instrument used in this division as well. Because everybody wants money to live. And we can hike certain people into higher positions and give them more of the tool for following their orders and doing what they're doing. And seriously, we got to understand that we're all being paid, bought victims. And the people that come up here and sell this crap, PUA, pick-up artist industry bullshit, should be slapped across the face for exploiting people that, problem, reaction, solution. These criminals socially engineered the problem. You got millions of men living as victims of this. And then you're going to go out and take money and make money off of what they're living that these people created and lie to them. And then we're going to have all this infighting going on. And it's straight across the board. That's why I said it really is. It's just like Black Lives Matter. I pissed Big Boss Calvin off because I did a video that said all lives matter. And now suddenly, because all lives matter, I was a closet racist. That's right, I was a closet racist. And oh, by the way, he couldn't be racist. You know why he couldn't be racist? Because he had magic protection, his black skin. Out his own mouth, it was impossible for him to be racist because his skin protected him. You want to talk about dumb. Falling right down the rabbit hole. That's exactly what was going on there. But see, this is the mentality. This is what people really need to open their eyes and stop acting like little children and realize that we're all victims. I understand the black people have a really hard life compared to some whites. But you know what? The Asians overseas have a really hard life compared to Americans. Do you know what? It was all deliberately done to cause us to fight one another. That's exactly what they wanted, was us to point the finger at one another, blame one another regardless of what country you're from. That's right. It was all engineered, divide and conquer, because of what? Their biggest fear. People realizing what's really going on, who their real enemy is, and standing up. And we can't correct anything unless we get this through our heads. But I'm just one person. I can't change a dang thing without you people being able to understand it. And you can't change anything unless you can get other people to understand it. We can get all on board together. Okay? And the more we can get on board together, then we could change something. It's not all that hard. It's only hard because we're making it hard. And in the manosphere, TFL and Incel, you guys and MGTOWers, you guys really need to understand that you're battling each other when you shouldn't be battling each other at all. We don't belong calling each other names, making fun of each other, looking for somebody else's faults like you have none of your own. No, we don't belong doing that. We belong understanding what's happened to all of us and becoming mad at our real enemy instead of each other. And with that being said, I think I've been here long enough, guys. So I'm going to get on out of here, but I think I've said what I need to say. And looks, if you ever want a successful relationship, I can respect somebody wanting some looks for some sexual attraction, but I say take away the number, the categories of 1 to 10. I say understand that we have to stop focusing in on differences between each others and the genders. We need to stop the labeling system and understand that true love comes from a friendship. The foundation of a successful relationship is based on becoming friends, if able, becoming best friends, and then moving to more between man and woman. If we keep screwing up the foundation of a successful relationship between man and woman, you're only setting yourself up for failure, like I said at the beginning of this live stream. Okay? So, you got to start backing up and communicating, respecting each other's feelings, not telling each other what to think or do, but to respect each other's feelings and practice trying to like somebody for who they are. But on an individual basis, we all have to do this, and we all have to take out our own bads, recognize right from wrong. It's as simple as that. Okay? And don't do something to somebody else that you wouldn't want done unto yourself. It's not that hard. It really isn't. You just got to want to. With that, guys, I'm out of here. You all have a good one.